So this is my video on a season in the life of a high school athletic director. First, I'm going to start out by going over the duties or typical duties of an athletic director. One, they provide guidance and direction to all high school sports programs, and they also prepare all budgets of coaches' salaries, team travel to all away games as well as tournaments, purchasing equipment and equipment replacement, making sure all equipment meets safety standards, as well as facility upkeep and making sure all the standards of their facilities are to code. Another thing they do is provide hand-on leadership. They might have to delegate certain people to oversee some of these areas, but they do a lot of the leadership themselves. They also work directly with coaches, determining scheduling for games and practices, as well as working with conferences and leagues on scheduling issues like postseason play. Often even provides guidance for coaches and also helps coaches plan their trips and away games. And in high school level, athletic directors can also be a big part of hiring new coaches as well. Another thing they do is decision making for facility management. Within each program, decisions need to be made on how to allocate time on fields, courts, or weight room in order to make it fair between each sports program. And they also coordinate officials for all games and budget for their pay. Some more duties that they deal with is filing reports. On each sport program, an athletic director will file a report to figure out their successes and shortcomings. An athletic director may need to make changes to the program if they're not working well, or may need to mediate any disputes between athletes or coaches in order to help them progress in a successful manner. An athletic director will also work closely with school administrators to assure student athletes are academically eligible for any given sport. In preparation to become an athletic director, a lot of athletic directors start out as coaches or teachers. Sometimes they continue to do this as a second position, such as coaching, but the athletic director position is full-time and requires more hours than an average job. Sometimes athletic directors can put anywhere between 60 to 75 hours in a typical work week for themselves. And typically they start with getting their bachelor's degree in education, physical education, or a related field such as sport management, and then go on to get their master's in education administration or sport management. Through studies, athletic directors say that getting their degrees in the skills that they found most useful were their planning and organization skills, knowledge of legal liability, public relations, oral and written communication skills, and skills in staffing and hiring. Some of the benefits found as being an athletic director is helping teams and coaches reach their potential, whereas just as a coach you carry out day-to-day prep for each team. Athletic directors take pride in the behind-the-scenes work that they do, putting teams in a position to succeed. They're not really worried about getting all that fame and worship from the town. Salaries average from $50,000 and can even reach as high as $80,000, and goes up even further as you move on into the college level. Some of the challenges is staying on top of all the challenging rules that they face for each sports program, and the political skills with coaches. Sometimes athletic directors and coaches don't see eye to eye, and sometimes even the public doesn't see eye to eye or agree with decision making that the athletic director has to do, such as hiring new coaches, scheduling, and things that just go against what maybe the town sees as fit. Lastly, one of the biggest issues between coaches, athletes, and their parents comes up a lot in sports nowadays, whether it be between coaches and parents, athletes and coaches, and parents trying to coach from the sidelines or getting too involved or thinking their kid isn't getting enough playing time or enough attention from the coaches. This causes a lot of concerns at the high school level, especially when kids are trying to move up in their career as an athlete and going on to play a college sport. Some more issues that we went over in the chapter were governance. Athletic directors have to make sure their leagues are being run correctly and games are officiated correctly, how, where, and who can officiate and who can play. Another huge issue, one of the biggest issues that we face as being an athletic director, is hazing and bullying. This has become one of the biggest issues because of the severity in a lot of instances that have led to rape and even death. Disabled students becomes a hard thing to deal with for some athletic directors to make sure that they're given just as much attention as regular athletes. They need to make sure they're following the ADA or Rehabilitation Act when it comes to disabled students. Some schools, especially in Connecticut, have implemented the Unified Sports Program, which is run by the Special Olympics for equal opportunity, where disabled students can participate with non-disabled students, and it's a really good program. Title IX is also an issue in a lot of places. Athletic directors need to make sure there are equal opportunities, funds, transportation, etc. for male and female athletics. And some of the laws that they deal with are to make sure coaches are taking the right precautions for care of duty to their athletes. Athletic directors need to make sure coaches follow their employment contracts as well as the students. For example, when they sign to play a sport, in most cases they agree to not do specific things like drugs or enhancements, and not to break any school rules or laws in the town. Usually any of this criminal behavior done by a student results in removal off the team, or if a school rule is committed, suspension from games or from the team altogether can occur. A lot of the issues I saw in my own high school at Bourne High School was parent-coach issues. There was a lot of discrimination between coaches not being able to communicate with parents well. Athlete-coach issues where coaches did not see eye to eye with their players, and parent-athlete issues where a lot of parents caused issues from the sidelines during games, such as getting too involved, coaching from the stands, causing outbreaks with the other opponent parents. And as students, we saw this a lot. Bourne was a very competitive athletic program, and I saw this a lot playing ice hockey. The athletic director at Bourne High School is Scott Ashworth. He says weather has especially become a huge issue with practices and games. They've had to have a lot of cancellation of practices where a lot of teams are now not prepared for their games. Scheduling is also becoming an issue because they can only cancel so many games before the season will be drawn out too far for winter sports, especially when a lot of the kids do play all 3 seasons. More issues fall primarily on the basketball and gymnasium for rescheduling of practices, because a lot of the teams want to all practice in the gymnasium but can't because it's basketball and hockey and all those other sports that, won't fit in there, as well as preseason sports trying to get in as many practices as they can. Personally, I saw a lot of issues with Title IX pertaining to ice hockey. Girls didn't typically play on the boys' team, and we only had a boys' team. And when it came to the conflict of girls not getting as much playing time, they did create a women's ice hockey team after I graduated, which definitely became the biggest solution for them when more girls started to play. So that's my video on a athletic director's season. Thank you very much.